Hi everyone! Have you ever wondered how researchers build theories without starting with a hypothesis? Well, that's exactly what grounded theory is all about, letting ideas grow directly from the data. Today, we're excited to introduce you to this interesting qualitative research method. I'm Aurora, and these are my group members Lufan, Ray, Jessie, and Wenyu. Let's dive in. Hi everyone, I'll be introducing the definition and methodology of grounded theory, a widely used qualitative research approach that aims to generate theory directly from data. Grounded theory was developed by sociologists Barney Glaser and Anselm Strauss in 1967. It offered a systematic way to do qualitative research at a time when quantitative methods dominated. Unlike traditional research that starts with a hypothesis, grounded theory lets theory emerge inductively from the data. As they wrote, grounded theory is a method for discovering theory from data systematically obtained and analyzed in social research. Let's briefly explore its philosophical foundations. Epistemology. How do we know what we know? Grounded theory is grounded in empiricism and symbolic interactionism, meaning knowledge comes from experience, and human behavior is shaped by the meanings people assign to their actions. Constructivist GT by Camus sees knowledge as co-constructed between researcher and participants, emphasizing reflexivity and multiple realities. Ontology. What is reality? Classic GT views reality as objective and discoverable, aligned with realism. Constructivist GT sees reality as subjective and shaped by context, aligned with interpretivism. Grounded theory is influenced by symbolical interactionism, which holds that meaning is created through social interaction and interpretation. It also draws from pragmatism, focusing on practical, useful theories that explain how people solve real-world problems.
As we discussed earlier, grounded theory is not merely descriptive. It aims to produce a conceptual understanding of what is going on in a given context. In this part, we will focus on why and when to use the grounded theory. It's a qualitative research method designed to build a theory from the ground up, especially when we are exploring a topic that is under-researched or not well explained by existing theories. So rather than starting with a fixed hypothesis, the theory begins with open-ended questions and use data like interviews, observations, or written documents to explain what is going on in a particular context. The theory emerges naturally from participants' experience as researchers identify patterns through iterative coding. The whole process is flexible and allows the focus to evolve throughout the study, so it is particularly good at capturing the depth and complexity of human experience. Because of these features we mentioned, grounded theory helps researchers understand and how and why behind their decisions, actions, emotions, which makes it especially valuable in healthcare, education, and social sciences, because in these disciplines and people's behaviors are shaped by complex and real-world systems. An example here we provide is a study which used the grounded theory to explore how speech pathologists work with people with aphasia. Researchers found that speech pathologists often practice with underlying questions shaped by their personal motivation, uncertainty, and demands of their workplace. The theory that emerged helped us explain not only their clinical actions but the thinking behind them. In this case, a grounded theory enables researchers to better understand a real-world practice, how and why behind the participants' behaviors, which might otherwise be missed with more rigid and structured research methods.
In the following few slides, I will introduce data collection and data analysis process of grounded theory. The sample size of grounded theory usually ranges from 20 to 35 participants. However, final size is determined by theoretical saturation, which means when no new categories emerge. In the exemplar study mentioned before, 17 speech-language pathologists working in different settings of the care continuum of aphasia rehabilitation in Quebec were chosen. The recruitment process starts from purposive sampling and then comes to data analysis. After that, we start theoretical sampling. Theoretical sampling means as analysis progresses, we recruit participants to fill gaps in emerging categories, and participants are then selected iteratively to explore the phenomenon from multiple angles until theoretical saturation is reached. There are 3 data collection methods. The primary method is in-depth interview. We want one-on-one interview with open-ended questions. The other 2 supplementary methods are observation and questionnaire. In the exemplar study, The interviewer used open-ended questions, non-judgmental affirmations, active listening, reflection, and regular summarizes to support understanding and engagement. Data analysis include three-stage coding. The first stage is open coding, where we break down raw data. The second stage is Excel coding, where we connect different categories. The third step is selective coding, where we integrate core category. We also use memo writing to track theoretical development and use member checking to validate emerging theories. Data units are continuously compared to refine categories and capture variations. This is a nonlinear process where each analysis phase informs subsequent data collection until we achieve a substantive theory.
So in this part of the presentation, we will explore how grounded theory ensures research quality through 5 key criteria, with examples from published studies. Here are the 5 key criteria commonly used in qualitative research. First, credibility. It's whether the findings truthfully represents participants' experiences and the reality. Transferability is if findings are applicable to other contexts. Dependability refers to the consistency in process and results. Confirmability ensures neutrality of findings, and finally, iterative rigor, the ongoing refinement of theory. So to better explain the criteria in its application, we'll first look at a 2019 paper published by Ellery et al. This paper explores whether speech pathology practices focus on social participation. And in the study, they didn't just interview therapists, they also analyzed the workplace documents and observed actual sessions. They also did member checking, in which they shared drafts with participants to confirm the accuracy of the data. And for transferability, they also specify the sample's demographics in rich details that include therapists from hospitals, rehab centers, and outpatient clinics, so it's not just one setting. In another paper from 2009 by Furry, they demonstrate a coding process, such as transforming the phrase "she pulled up right near me" from the raw data into action code, being smooth. And for confirmability, coming back to the first study we mentioned, they looked for negative cases to prove that they didn't ignore any contradicting evidence, and also researchers' own reflection on their biases. And for iterative rigor, the author noticed client values something and then they added it into the question. And also they reached saturation at 11 interviews when clients repeated similar themes.
Now, let's look at appraisal tools used to assess the quality of grounded theory research. This table compares its 3 tools. CASP Qualitative Studies Checklist (CASP) focuses on overall research rigor, such as whether the aim, methods, and analysis are clearly explained. The second one, JBI Critical Appraisal Checklist for Qualitative Research, JBI, emphasizes researcher reflexivity and consistency between methodology, data collection, and interpretation. The last one, Rosalind Franklin Qualitative Research Appraisal Instrument, RFQRA, focuses on trustworthiness using 4 criteria: credibility, transferability, dependability, and confirmability. The CASP checklist includes 10 structured questions. It helps us check whether the research question is clear, the methods are appropriate, and whether data collection and analysis are well described. In grounded theory, CASP is used for assessing theoretical sampling, coding transparency, and researcher reflexivity. The JPI checklist also has 10 items. It focuses on internal consistency, whether the methods, data, and interpretations all align. It also considers how the researcher's role is addressed and whether participants' voices are represented. In grounded theory, it helps assess if the theory is truly grounded in data and developed through a coherent, reflective process. Finally, the RFQRA framework uses the 4 trustworthiness criteria proposed by Lickham and Guba. It encourages strategies like triangulation, audit trials, and field journals. In ground theory, RFQRA helps check whether findings are well-grounded, the analysis is consistent, and bias is minimized.
Here is a list of all the references we have used throughout the presentation. And here is the continuation of the reference list from the previous slides. And that brings us to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. We'd love to hear your feedback and thoughts.